Well, throughout the war in Gaza, Al Jazeera has documented more than 50 attacks against our journalists. Here are just some of them. In October, several family members of Al Jazeera's Gaza bureau chief, Wael al-Dahdouh, were killed. An Israeli airstrike killed his wife, his 15-year-old son, 7-year-old daughter, and 1-year-old grandson. That same month, an Israeli strike killed 19 members of an Al Jazeera broadcast engineer's family. Mohammed Abu Qunsam's family was sheltering in the Jabalia refugee camp. In December, Al Jazeera correspondent Anas al-Sharif lost his father in an Israeli strike, targeting his family's house in Jabalia. And also in December, a drone strike killed Al Jazeera cameraman Samir Abu Daka while wounding bureau chief Wael al-Dahdouh. Then in January, al-Dahdouh's oldest son, Hamza, who also works for Al Jazeera, was killed when his car was targeted by a drone strike. He'd been trying to interview displaced civilians when his vehicle was struck. Carlos Martinez de la Serna, he is a program director at the Committee to Protect Journalists. He joins us now from New York. Carlos, that's quite the list. I feel it speaks for itself.
Yeah, it's really unacceptable. Al Jazeera journalists have paid the ultimate price while covering this war. You mentioned all the incidents, all the many cases. Many come to my mind as we researched when those happened, their families killed, journalists being killed while on duty. Their incredible contribution to add a point of view from Gaza, from the region, on the war. And Israel, in the next and probably the most significant, or one of the most significant steps in controlling the information around the war and actually enacting a regime of censorship, has banned Al Jazeera from operating within Israel. That's completely unacceptable.
Your organization has released a statement condemning Israel's actions today. You're worried that this sets precedent.
It clearly sets a precedent. It's important to remind that there's no proof, there's no document that's been made available for anyone to try to understand the reasoning behind this decision. Just Al Jazeera has been deemed a national threat by the Israel's cabinet, and there's supposed to be a document, a national security document or something like that might have some information. But this is a pattern that Israel follows in terms of criminalizing journalism and then making decisions about that. And this is another very flagrant step, but definitely sets a precedent for any international organization or journalist reporting within Israel about what they can expect if they do critical, controversial reporting.
Well, we're still reporting from Gaza and the occupied West Bank, but are you concerned that a decision like this in Israel puts our colleagues there at even more risk if Israel now officially doesn't view Al Jazeera journalists as legitimate members of the press?
It is. As I said, there's a pattern in the Israeli, in this case, military of criminalizing journalism, of trying to justify the attacks on journalists, including journalists being killed and then being the subject of misinformation and propaganda campaigns, trying to depict them as something that they aren't, like they're just journalists reporting on issues of public interest. So in this case, by clearly banning a whole operation, they're adding another pretext to continue attacking Al Jazeera, and also in the war against journalism, right? Like, it's continuously an effort to undermine the really important and necessary reporting on the war and around the war in the region.
Well, our political analyst Marwan Bashara pointed out earlier here on our air, it feels like there's been little outrage from Israeli journalists on the closure of Al Jazeera in Israel. What do you make of that?
I'm not inside Israel. I don't know how this information is being taken and is being read. My understanding it's a highly polarized society. That's my understanding. There's some people really asking for different course for the war, different types of completely different approach to the war. What I can say, being outside of Israel, is everyone who cares about press freedom, everyone who cares about democracy needs to be extremely concerned within Israel about this decision. It's not about them caring or not caring about Al Jazeera. It's about the principle that is at stake and is being clearly attacked.
Carlos Martinez de la Serna, their program director at the Committee to Protect Journalists. Thank you for joining us today on Al Jazeera, sir.
Thank you.
Make sure to subscribe to our channel to get the latest news from Al Jazeera.